I'll introduce our first speaker, Phil Torio. He's former CFO of Maynilad Water. He helped return control of the entity to the government, and then later played the key role to privatize the organization that was previously in bankruptcy and was sold for a value of around $500 million, so a tremendous success there for Philippines. He has master's degrees in engineering from the University of Philippines, master's degree in management from AIM, in public administration from Harvard, and in infrastructure policy from UBC in Canada. And he is running the newly invigorated and powerful PPP Center of the Philippine government. And yeah, we got to, I think, just lower the noise, my friends. Yeah. We're going to have Phil come on up. Phil has taken a big risk and a big sacrifice in taking this responsibility. He returned from Canada, and like others, is making a tremendous sacrifice. These people do. You know that people take shots at these people, both legal and otherwise. And like former Secretary Gary Tevis are a good example. So please, can I welcome Phil Torio for the presentation. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. When my staff and I were preparing my presentation for today, the area where we were holding office was hit by a power outage. At that instance, I realized that my job was important. For this morning, allow me to share with you the excitement as well as the sense of urgency that comes along with the job. And if there are any questions afterwards, I'd be happy to take them. If not, please feel free to drop us a line or drop by the office so that we can take all your queries and address them properly. A World Competitiveness Survey in 2007 ranked the Philippines as one of the lowest in terms of infrastructure competitiveness. And the reasons probably is because we haven't been spending so much in terms of infrastructure investment. If you'll notice, there has been a rather boom and bust cycle in terms of infrastructure investment in the Philippines. And on the average, the investment in infrastructure as a percentage of GDP is only around 3%. The standard for, or the recommended infrastructure spending as percentage of GDP is around 5%. And that means we lack about 200 billion pesos in infrastructure spending every year. And if you'll notice, in terms of absolute amounts, we've spent a lot on power and telecom, but not so much on transport and the other utilities. And it is against this against this scenario that we're implementing the public-private partnerships in infrastructure development. The government of President Aquino recognizes that investment in strategic infrastructure are necessary to achieve national development, as well as to fulfill the government's commitment to, or the President's commitment to its social contract with the Filipino people. And there are clear reasons why the government needs to invest in strategic infrastructure. Basically, it's to enhance our competitiveness, as well as to improve access to basic and social services, and also to enhance the scope and quality of our social and economic infrastructure. And the government sees the private sector as an important partner in development. And the one way to involve the private sector in development is through the public-private partnerships. And our definition of public-private partnership is it's a contractual arrangement between government and the private sector to deliver public services and or public infrastructure. And we believe that the private sector can provide the efficiency gains and also accelerate the provision of public services. And at the same time, government's role can be rationalized in that it can now focus, in terms of infrastructure development, it can now focus in terms of monitoring and supervision, as well as in project identification and development, and more specifically in the areas of right-of-way acquisition, as well as providing guarantees where they're necessary. The legal framework for for undertaking the PPP projects today is still the BOT law, which is Republic Act 7718, and it's implementing rules and regulations which were amended in 2006. And the salient features of the BOT law is that it allows many different variants. As well, it covers most of the infrastructure sectors and allows a reasonable rate of return for the investor, private sector investor. It also institutionalizes provision of government support. And I can go into this in a little while. There are 9 authorized variants under the BOT law, but the President may approve other variations in or other variants under the BOT law. And later on, I'll go into the amendments to the BOT law and the BOT IRR, which are currently now being undertaken. And if you notice, there's a wide range of infrastructure that or projects that are eligible for under the BOT law. And this not only covers the hard infrastructure, your toll roads, transits, airports, but also the basic social infrastructure, those infrastructure in the health sector, the education sector, the tourism sector, as well as the agriculture sector. And to offer a reasonable rate of return for the investor, their returns can be through toll fees, rentals, charges from the users of the facilities, user fees, share in the revenue of the project, other non-monetary payments in the case of real estate transactions, as well as also now availability payments from the government. The enhancement of the legal framework of the PPP is now being undertaken. There are amendments to the BOT implementing rules and regulation, for which you will see now under the amended BOT IRR, the BOT variants now would include the joint venture, the operating and maintenance contracts, the lease or affirmage, as well as concession agreements. And the consultation with ongoing PPP stakeholders it's ongoing, and pretty soon I believe that these amendments or the amended BOT IRR will be published, I believe, probably next month. So you'll see an amended BOT IRR by next month. There are also efforts to introduce amendments to the BOT law itself, and it is now being deliberated upon in Congress. And all of these amendments are being done to be able to improve the implementation of PPP projects. It also addresses some of the concerns of the private sector investors. The PPP Center operates under the mandate of an executive order number 8. And basically, the old BOT Center was renamed as the PPP Center, and it was transferred to NEDA as an attached agency. And we were allowed also to reorganize the PPP Center in terms of organizational structure and staffing. I will present also our new organizational structure as well as our staffing. Another thing that's new with the PPP Center is that we have what we call a project development and monitoring facility, which is basically a fund which we can use for feasibility studies and transaction advisory services, which means that since the government now is pushing for the solicited approach, the government would like to come out with projects that are properly studied, properly structured, and when it goes to market, we are sure that there will be a higher chance for success. So we have a 300 million peso project development fund, which will be augmented by a grant from our developmental partners, and this is through a consortium of ADB, OSAID, and SIDA. $6 million of additional funding will be coming from OSAID to augment the 300 million pesos of the government. And all of this, this pool of money can be used for undertaking feasibility studies and also for hiring consultants and transaction advisors to be able to come up with a well-structured project. The PPP Center is also mandated to facilitate the development of PPP projects, and I'll show later on in another slide how we're doing it at the moment. We also advocate policy reforms, and you also see in our current organizational setup how we intend to do it to advocate policy reforms. We will also monitor PPP implementation, and the idea is that after bidding out the selection of the winning bidder, is to be able to flag potential issues later on that may get bigger, and if we can already at the onset address those issues, then there might not be any need for any expensive arbitration or any difficult negotiations. The PPP process, well, as you know, the PPP process is not something new, It's been there for a long time. But basically what is new is how we intend to implement the PPP projects. And basically, all projects that are 200 million pesos and above would have to go through the NEDA ICC for evaluation and approval. And when it goes to the Investment Coordination Council of NEDA, the documentation should be complete. And when we say complete, it means that there's a completed feasibility study. There's already a right-of-way acquisition plan for transport projects. And there's a draft PPP agreement, which spells out the risk allocation between the government and the private sector. And there should also be a valuation of direct and contingent liabilities so that the government knows at some point in time what the potential liabilities are in terms of the projects that have been approved and implemented. And the PPP process actually starts with the line agencies, which are still the implementing agencies for the PPP projects. And they start with a project proposal submitted to NEDA ICC for approval. And as we all know, there are two types of proposals. One can be through the solicited mode, and the other one is through the unsolicited mode. We feel that the solicited mode, which calls for competitive tender, competitive bidding, is faster and poses less legal challenges. While we also accept that under the BOT law, the unsolicited proposal is allowable, we feel that it may take a longer period of time to do the unsolicited proposals because you have to do 2 rounds of evaluation, one from the agency side and the other one from NEDA ICC, and then you go through a process of a Swiss challenge. And in all the project cycle, the PPP Center is now involved from start to finish through monitoring, except for one activity, and this is the evaluation and the approval. Only the NEDA ICC can evaluate and recommend for approval. So this would be the project approval and bidding chart, and the start begins with all the project documentation and the forms submitted to NEDA ICC for approval. And it goes through a process of bidding, for which there is a commitment now to complete the approval up to the selection of the winning bidder within a period of 6 months. But this is under the assumption that all the documentation that is submitted to NEDA ICC is complete. And that's also one of the roles that the PPP Center will play, is to make sure that all of the documentation is complete when it goes to NEDA ICC for evaluation. I'd like to go more into our services as part of this entire PPP process. In the project preparation and review and approval, the PPP Center can fund pre-investment activities through our project development and monitoring facility. We can assist the LGUs or the implementing agencies on project preparation, development, and transaction structuring. As well, we can provide advisory services to the implementing agencies, the LGUs, on legal, technical, and financial matters related to the PPP project. For the preparation of bid and tender documents, the PPP Center is also involved in assisting the implementing agencies and LGUs in the preparation of PPP transaction documents. So this would be the bidding guidelines, the terms of reference, the information memorandum, the concession agreement. And the next stage would be the pre-qualification and the bid evaluation. And again, the PPP participates as a member, a non-voting member of the Bids and Awards Committee, as well as it provides advice to the implementing agency during the procurement stage. On the contract award and implementation, like I said, the PPP Center is also involved in monitoring the project implementation as well as in the compliance with respect to the contract. So as you can see, we're involved in the entire project cycle, except again the evaluation and approval, which is the sole purview of NEDA ICC. The organizational structure of the PPP Center to be able to meet all of the functions that have been required from us is as follows. The people in front of our activity is the Project Development Service, and these are the people that would help the implementing agencies, the GOCCs, and the LGUs to be able to prepare the project, develop the project, and also structure the transaction and prepare the documentation for NEDA approval and ultimately for bidding. We also now have what we call a capacity building and knowledge management center. And this basically provides training in-house as well as to the implementing agencies, the LGUs and the GOCCs. We also would like to build a database of information related to PPP projects, as well as to document best practices. In this department, pretty soon you'll see a center of excellence under the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. There will be a center of excellence for PPPs in the health sector. And this will be a center of excellence that is attached to the International PPP Center of Excellence, which is based in Geneva. The host country for the health sector is the Philippines, and there are other countries that are hosting PPP centers of excellence for other sectors like road, water, power. But the Philippines will be hosting the Center of Excellence for the PPP sector in health. Another department that's relatively new is the policy formulation and evaluation. And this basically will look at policy issues related to PPP projects and also the necessary amendments